Melissa,
Uh-huh.
Netflix is 25 years old this week. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I knew that Netflix was older than I thought it was, that it took a while to reach a young teen me for me to hear the word of it, but I would not have guessed 1997.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from their account today, but it was a tweet from 2 days ago that said that Netflix is turning 25 years old. So I guess happy quarter century to Netflix.
Oh my God.
Wild.
Do you
right?
want to know movies that came out in 1997, movies that are one Netflix old?
Yes. How old are yes.
Netflix is one Batman and Robin old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Netflix is one Men in Black old. Netflix is one Fifth Element old. Congratulations.
Good stuff. That's kind of wild.
One Air Bud old. Both franchises, both titles that have gone on to tremendous longevity and legacy.
Wow. Air Bud, 25th anniversary of Air Bud, too.
Special collector's edition 4K steelbook.
Goodness gracious. Melissa, do you have a fond memory of like renting a certain DVD from Netflix or like a family movie night or something like that?
I tried so hard to convince my parents to get us a Netflix subscription because I was a big TV kid and I really wanted access to all of the TV DVDs because Blockbuster had some, but they never had enough. And like buying one of those is like, okay, I have to set aside $30 if I want season 1 of Bones. So I tried my hardest. I did research. I made a PowerPoint. I think this was Dad's way of getting me some Microsoft Office skills. He's like, make me a PowerPoint about why you want Netflix and maybe I'll get it. And he never got it. I did not have Netflix during the DVD mailing age, but I tried.
Wow. So you skipped out on the whole DVD thing.
Never had it. Well, also, we lived very close to a Blockbuster. We were a big Blockbuster family. That was our Friday night ritual. We were always there. I could walk to the Blockbuster if I wanted. So I guess Dad was like, we're just always going to end up at Blockbuster. Why am I paying for this other thing?
Yeah. Good stuff. I have a fond memory of watching the TV show Alias with my parents. Looking back now, I couldn't tell you a thing that happened in that show. Except that like I think we eventually fell off of it. I don't think we ever actually finished it. Because it got to be one of those shows where they were just trying so hard to keep the plot twists coming and stuff like that. And it was like, wait, but I'm actually your brother who you thought was dead this whole time. And then the next season is like, haha, I fooled you. I'm not actually your brother. I'm your sister. Right. And it's just like, wait, what, who, what? And it just got to be these like ridiculous plot twists that everyone was somehow related to everyone. I'm your cousin. I'm your this. And then I came back from the dead and was just like, okay, we're done.
Right. Every week they got to find a reason to put her in a new wig.
Right. Exactly. But that despite all of that, that was like the first television show that I got into with my parents. That's what we watched religiously, like on as much as we could, right? Because you had to rent the DVDs, they had to mail them out to you if they were available. If not, you had to wait for one to come in and then they would mail it out. And then a DVD back then had like 3, maybe 4 episodes on it. And that was it. And so you could watch that in like a night or 2, and then you had to send it back, and then you'd wait for the next one to get there. And so it was just this really slow process of watching these shows. But that was always a fond memory for me.
That's
Netflix
nice to hear.
Night. Yeah.
I never got to have exactly that. We were Blockbuster people. Do you have any important Blockbuster memories? I'm collecting these.
Blockbuster memories. I mean, I always like rented video games and stuff. That was the big thing for me. If I was going to rent something, it was going to be a video game. I remember renting Final Fantasy X from Blockbuster, and I loved it. That's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm currently replaying it right now with my girlfriend, so I can share that experience with her. And it's kind of a ridiculous game looking back on it. But other memories, I always have a vivid memory of the Silence of the Lambs cover, right? The just like white face with the butterfly on the mouth. All that like that just sticks in my head as I was perusing all of the stuff. Like, what are these movies? I've never heard of these. Other good ones, I like that was the era of like Three Ninjas, right?
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
Beverly Hills. Did they have a Beverly Hills Ninja? What am I thinking?
They
of?
did. There was both a Beverly Hillbillies movie and a Beverly Hills Ninja. And this is even before we got to Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Good God. But yeah, I remember stuff like Three Ninjas. I remember renting the Never-Ending Story. Stuff like that. Those were always hits back in the day. Good stuff.
I am going to a trivia night in a couple weeks where it's one of those like church basement fundraiser type trivia nights. And this is the first one I've ever been to where there's a prize for table theming. Ooh. Like your table doesn't just get a number or even a name. It's like you don't have to have a theme, but you may have a theme. You may decorate it. You may show up in costume, and then you could get a prize for that.
Nice.
So our team's theme is Blockbuster.
Great. You guys need to have that big sign behind you. You need to be in the uniforms with name tags.
Oh, no.
That'd be great.
No, we're going to
cloth.
Exactly. Well, we're going to do the blue tablecloth with like yellow, like plates and napkins and stuff to represent the logo. I think I want to get some balloons, like blue and yellow balloons. I think you could get a balloon there. We're going to have like a little gumball machine on the table because they always had a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Stack up some old VHS tapes as a centerpiece, get some popcorn, get some movie theater candy.
That's awesome.
And we're not going to dress as employees. We decided we were going to dress as Blockbuster movies, by which we mean mainly 90s movies, but you could go up to 2010 if needed. Anytime during Blockbuster's primary life. So I also have to come up with a 90s movie costume.
There's supposedly some new Blockbuster related show, right?
Coming on Netflix. Yes, I have heard of this.
Okay. Interesting. I've not heard much. I just saw something on Twitter as I was scrolling by. I was like, oh, it's the agent Jimmy Woo working at Blockbuster there, right?
Yes.
Randall Park. But that's all that I know about all of that stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 203 of the Whatnauts Captain's Log, where every week we thirst for the taste of legend. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson.
Hello.
Melissa, Blockbuster memory from you. What's your like? I mean, apparently you were a Blockbuster family, but like, what is?
Yeah.
Was there a prized rental that like you went back to time and time again, and that was your favorite one, or something like that?
Yes. I would rent this one tape of Pokemon episodes over and over again. I would frequently rent those tapes that had like 3 Pokemon episodes on them.
Right. Yep.
But the one I rented over and over was the one with that episode where they find out that James from Team Rocket is actually from this really rich family that bosses him around, and they're like, and his parents fake their death, and he's like, I could get my inheritance now, but they had a stipulation that I had to get married, and I really hated the girl they said that I was supposed to marry when I was a kid. I don't want to do it.
Interesting.
And Jesse and me out there like, we need that money. We're going to make you do it. And then it turns out his parents faked their deaths just to get him to come back, just to marry this mean lady who looks exactly like Jesse. It's very romantic. It's very funny.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good Pokemon memories too.
I would rent that one episode constantly until I was able to like catch it in reruns and tape it for my own. And my dad didn't have to keep paying for me to watch one Pokemon episode many, many times.
That was smart. Man, back in the day, you had to VHS record your own.
I still have them. I still have all of my Pokemon VHS tapes.
Wow.
All the ones that I
homemade ones or the
yes.
ones you, okay.
No, hand recorded, hand labeled. I would catalog them. I would like give each tape a label, and the labels were like Pokemon, Pokemon 2, more Pokemon, even more Pokemon than before. And I'd write down what episodes were on each one, and I write down a description of the episode. I had like a multi-page Word document that cataloged my deep interest in Pokemon. This is what I did from ages 10 to like
track of it all.
I wasn't that nerdy. It wasn't an Excel sheet. It was a Word document. But this is what I did up until I was like 13, maybe too old to be doing this.
Wow.
And that's why I had to pivot to Lost immediately. It's like I need a new obsession that's more mature, that's more adult. Lost is the thing.
I'm currently in the middle of the final season of Lost, of my Lost rewatch with my girlfriend.
Wow.
They have kind of figured out. Jack has seen the lighthouse now. Is kind of where we're at. So yeah. Man, good times, good stuff. Good stuff there back in the day.
I still dream about Blockbuster frequently. It is one of the major settings for my dreams. I have a lot of panic dreams where I'm a little kid and my dad takes me to Blockbuster and I don't know what I want. And he's like, if you don't pick something right away, you're just not getting anything. Like, we're getting in the car and we're going home.
Oh, man.
So it's like this stress dream about a type of stress that doesn't exist anymore, that I haven't needed to deal with for 20 years, but it's still like so deeply ingrained in me.
And it's not one that will like negatively impact your future. It's not like, oh man, if you don't pass this test, like you're not making it into college, or like if you don't do this one, like it's not that stuff. It's just like, well, if you don't pick out a movie, you won't be entertained for the next 2 hours.
Exactly. It's
just
like
sitting there like, oh god,
it's so low stakes. Like, we had cable. We had a full selection of VHSs and DVDs. My dad would rent a movie. My brother would rent a movie. It's not like I was responsible for the family's one movie. Like, I would have had other things to watch, but
that's funny.
No, like, I think just the feeling of being a little kid and being overwhelmed and knowing like I would probably like these things, but I have no context for anything. Dad's not like recommending movies to me. He's not like, you'll like this one. He's like, nope, I'm getting whatever the latest action movie is. I don't know how to help you. Just find it on your own.
Here we go.
Right. He's like, he's holding up 2 movies. He's like, Schwarzenegger, Seagal, what do I want?
Exactly.
He's busy.
How about we get into some pop culture news that we missed from last week and this week?
Yes.
I guess we can talk about here. Because last week we had to push all of that stuff because we were too busy talking about other things. All right, so we have a bit of pop culture news to catch up on. Nothing too like in depth or anything like that, but we got some Marvel and DC news, some HBO Max news, some Netflix news, stuff like that. Let's start with Shazam and Aquaman.
Oh yeah.
So Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom have both been delayed. Shazam is now delayed to March 17th, 2023, which was when the next Aquaman was supposed to be coming out. But Aquaman now got delayed to December 25th, 2023. So Shazam is no longer coming out this year in the holiday spot. That got pushed to early next year, which I'm kind of bummed about. That was the one that I was like, that is a family movie. It's going to be a
Exactly.
big blockbuster. It's a superhero film, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's about your siblings and your family. Like that would be a good Christmas holiday
Exactly.
movie
Yeah.
to go see.
And I think
No, it's
the
not.
first Aquaman did come out around the holidays. So
Mhm.
I guess there is a precedent, but Shazam seems like it should take that holiday slot. Like it seems like
Yes.
that is the family Christmas movie. You're right. It's more
Yeah.
fun, more heartwarming. It appeals to a broader audience.
I don't know exactly why these got delayed. I know we're in the midst in the midst still of all the big shakeups at the HBO Discovery merger, or like I guess Warner Media Discovery merger. We're also still kind of dealing with the fallout from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, and she is in Aquaman. They haven't announced anything. Some people are speculating. I'm wondering if they're somehow either rewriting her out of the movie or doing some reshoots for Aquaman. I don't know. Who knows what? But those two got delayed a bit. So there you go. Sticking in that DC wheelhouse. Oh, you have one more thing. Go ahead.
No, I have to crawl underneath my desk and get my charger.
Oh, okay.
So keep talking. I'll be down there. I'll be back.
Okay. I'm just gonna be over here, real confused by everything. Melissa, where'd you go? Melissa, I'm so lonely. Help me, please. She's yelling at me from underneath her desk. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cool. Let's keep going on in the DC wheelhouse. So in the midst of the Warner Bros. Discovery shakeup, one of the things in question was like, well, hey, that new the Batman movie that people really liked, what's the deal with that? Because that supposedly there was a sequel in the works, there were some spin-offs, and that was kind of up in the air, and apparently Matt Reeves has worked out some kind of new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery to continue some of that stuff. So the like Gotham Central style spin-off show might still be happening. There might still be that the Batman 2 or that Penguin spin-off, who knows.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what all is coming out of that, but apparently he has some kind of new deal, which is a good thing, I think. That stuff was good. That was a good movie.
I really enjoyed The Batman. I do look forward to seeing more out of that corner of the universe. I think it's going to be a very, so far it's proven to be a very reliable creative section of the narrative. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. And then last but not least for the DC news, Harley Quinn, the cartoon, got renewed for a season 4. So
wow,
that show is still trucking along. People love that show.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not dived into that one yet. Real quick, we got some Netflix news. Love, Death, and Robots was also renewed for a season 4. I have yet to watch season 3 of that, but that is a great show. Little sci-fi anthology, different kind of animation styles, all sorts of good stuff. That's a good one. I'm excited about. Kind of switching over to Marvel stuff. Top Gun Maverick has surpassed Infinity War at the box office.
Wow. That's quite a feat.
Yeah, I'm not sure what those numbers are exactly. But yeah, congratulations to Top Gun Maverick. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very happy I went to go see it in an IMAX theater. And maybe that's part of what has bumped it so far up, is that a lot of people are seeing it in IMAX with these like pricier tickets.
And it is worth seeing multiple times. It is that good, right? It is also the like, if you go say it, you need to go take someone else, because you're just like dude, let's go watch this. You have to see this thing.
I went alone but I did go to like I think I went the opening weekend or like the weekend after, like pretty close to the opening, and the theater was nearly full. So I was sitting there between strangers next to some older lady who's making like a loud an exaggerated reaction noise every time something happens, like, oh,
I had one of those
in
my theater too. Yeah.
Which I love. I love just an engaged older lady who's not saying words. She's not talking over the movie. She's just reacting loudly.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Well, in Marvel news proper, apparently the Disney Plus show, the spinoff of Hawkeye, Echo, has wrapped filming.
Very nice.
They are done with that. That's supposedly coming out next summer. I'm not sure exactly when. They said summer 2023, but if it's wrapped filming, who knows what that means? It might be early as spring next year, I think. I was trying to figure that out today in one of the Discords I'm in, because on the review show, I would like to do another Marvel Comics pitch of like, here are some comics that the next slate of like Marvel shows are based off of. I'd love to do like Wonder Man, and here's Iron Heart, or here's Secret Invasion, or who knows. So I was trying to figure out like, what is the next slate of them, and I wasn't quite sure. I think Secret Invasion is next.
Oh,
I think that's the next show, because that's been done for a while, and that's supposedly been coming out or is slated to come out at the end of this year, I think.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out next week.
Soon,
I think they'll update the phase 4, 5, and 6 slates at D23.
Yep, indeed. But yeah, that, and then I think What If season 2 is early next year. And then maybe Echo, I think. I don't know. But speaking of the Disney Plus shows, Ben Kingsley is reprising his role as Trevor Slattery in the Wonder Man series on Disney Plus.
I am very happy to hear this.
I'm ecstatic. I love this. This is great. Man, to think that character from Iron Man 3 would then be in Shang-Chi and now in Wonder Man, like, yes, please.
What a journey. What a journey he's been on. Like, Sir Ben Kingsley, of course, a knight of the realm, a very well-respected actor. And Trevor, such a sweetheart, such a goofy little sweetheart, wants to know how an ape can ride a horse.
Right.
I look forward to seeing him interact with more characters, and I like that the MCU has grown so rich inadvertently. Like, they were not planning, let's introduce this guy and put him in Wonder Man. They're just doing this Wonder Man story.
A brand new character. Like, I don't think he's in the comic. Like, that's what's so fascinating. Is just like new character, and they ran, and it was just like, oh, this is great. I love it.
I love that they're making the show about Wonder Man, who is an actor, a stunt man, and they look around and they're like, wait a minute, we've got some actors in the canon already. We've got Trevor Slattery. Perhaps this is when we will see the redemption of Ralph Bohner.
Yeah. More Bohner, please. Yeah, so that's an interesting one for sure. It'll be great to see him again. I'm excited about all of that stuff. The only other kind of pop culture news thing that I actually don't have written down here, I did not see it until the day after. I still actually haven't watched it yet. But apparently there's now a trailer out for this Weird Al movie.
Yes, I watched it today.
What did you think?
It's fun. It looks like what you think it looks like. But I love that it is Daniel Radcliffe very obviously lip syncing to the actual Weird Al songs. Like, he's not singing. He's not trying to sound like Weird Al. Like, it's very obvious on purpose. We're just going to play Al. That's what you want to hear, right? We're going to play him.
Yeah. I've not watched the trailer yet. I completely missed when it got put out. It would have been perfect to do a trailer reaction to. But I'm oddly excited for that, especially since it's a Roku original movie. That's weird to me. But I guess I'll check it out when it comes out, right?
Mm-hmm. If you have I don't know how easy it is to get the Roku channel if you do not own a physical Roku device, but
there's a lot of smart TVs that also have it built in and just stuff like that.
Yeah, it's nice that it'll be easy to access. Although I would love to go see it in the theater. Go to the theater, just lines of Hawaiian shirts already.
Right, exactly. So yeah, good stuff with all of that. I say, however, we take a quick break to do some housekeeping. Then when we get back, I want to talk about what we've been watching.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it last week, but we didn't get to talk a bit about it. I finally watched Severance and some stuff. So I want to talk about all of that. If you've been following the podcast though for a bit, you might know that we do I'll be like, hey, it's time for the break, and then we'll just wait, and it'll be a moment of silence. I'm trying to try something new with this, so you guys will see our housekeeping video on stream. I'm just testing out some different things here, workflows that may work differently. So we are going to test that right now, and we'll be back in just a sec for the second half of our show. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and a thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you'd like to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. Big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. It means a lot. Cool things that we've been up to here at the Whatnauts. Melissa, you and I just finished up watching Fringe on the review show. It's been our end of the month special for the past 5 months. We just recorded on the 5th and final season of that. And if you're a longtime fan of the show, I think it is a good finale.
Yeah.
For the show.
I was very satisfied by the finale, and I was just trying to explain the show to somebody who maybe saw the first couple seasons when it aired years ago, and it's I get to the final season, it's I don't even want to say it to spoil you, but it sounds bonkers. It sounds really bananas when you try and lay it out in one neat linear line.
Yeah. It's a wild show. But coming up on the review show, we are now about to get into Shame-Timber, in which we each take turns pitching something off of our list of shame, some kind of movie or something that we have not seen that we probably should have, whether it's a giant pop culture thing. It's how have you not seen Star Trek Wrath of Khan or who knows what? Something like that, or something more specific to you. Oh my God, Melissa, this is such a Melissa movie. How have you not seen this? So for the first week of Shame-Timber, we are watching the Godfather trilogy. It was one that I had not seen, and it worked out because Melissa, you've not seen it either. So
nope.
we are crossing that one off of our list, finally watching it and discussing it on the review show. That's what we will be talking about this upcoming week. Yes.
I wanted to check in and ask where you are, if you've started it yet.
So I am in the middle of The Godfather Part 2. I'm
okay.
Like halfway in on that. He did the line of Fredo and then yeah.
Okay. Because when I looked it up on Paramount Plus, I was going to share my dad's Paramount Plus account, and like his username and password weren't working for me to log in on my TV. So then he said, just come to the house and borrow my Roku for the week.
So there is something I do want to ask you, and this might be what you're bringing up here. So continue. Yeah.
So when I looked it up, it said Godfather Part 1, Godfather Part 2, and I didn't see Part 3. And I'm like, come on, I know this movie is not well regarded, but how do you have parts 1 and 2 and not part 3? Where else am I supposed to get it? So I Googled it, and I think they do have it, but it's renamed as The Godfather Coda. And Correct. I wanted to make sure we both knew that.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically like the director's cut of that one, I think. So there is that. The thing that I wanted to ask you about is that so I ended my subscription to Paramount Plus. I think it's running out the end of the month. Basically tonight at midnight. So I have like till tonight at midnight to watch Godfather 2, and then it's taking Godfather 1 and 2 off of the service, I think. I don't like, that's the thing. Like, it says it's available to stream until the 31st, and today's the 31st. So today would be the last day. I can still watch it after we're done with
this. This is so funny because this is what I also did. So I kept asking my dad, "Hey, can you send me your login info?" And he's like, "I haven't set you up yet." And I'm like, "You don't have to set me up. Just give it to me. I can get in there. You don't have to make me a profile. I can do it on my own. I'm a big girl, Dad." So I wasn't able to start them until Sunday, and I did not realize that Godfather Part 2 was 3 hours and 20 minutes long. I never would have foreseen that. I knew the first one was like 3 hours, and I figured the second one was also like 3 hours, but that extra 20 minutes truly took me by surprise. And it's like, I want to watch this all in one sitting. I want to do the film the honor. I want to pay it that respect. I'm not going to cut this up into chunks. And so I ended up staying up too late because it's like I have to take the time that I have and spend it on Godfather, and I can't stop when it's bedtime. I work in the morning, but I owe it to this family. I got to pay my respects to the family, Kyle, or who knows what's going to happen to me. So I think it's funny that both of us have to like cram in Godfather Part 2, America's longest film.
Yeah. So I just wasn't clear if it was like going off the service because my subscription is ending and it's just not in the free version. I think there's certain things that are free on it that you can watch with ads, or if it was like we're cycling it off of the service, which I don't know why they would do. It's their movie.
I don't know who else would have it.
Who knows? But that was just a weird thing with that. Last but not least for housekeeping, I know this is a long one, also not that kind of got into not housekeeping territory there.
Yeah,
I do have to say, crossplay is coming to an end. I am stepping down from that show. Long story short, when I made Crossplay, our video game podcast, I took it on knowing that I had too much on my plate with that. And the idea behind it was I will set the show up, get some more people on the show, eventually give them the show so that I could step back. Things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay. That's life. But about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I'm not sure, Gino stepped down from the show, and he was the one that was going to be hosting it. And so when he stepped down, I was like, oh man, that's kind of forcing my hand to let these guys know that I need to finally step down too. It's been unfortunately, crossplay is coming to an end. We recorded our final regular podcast this past week, or I guess today is Wednesday, so we recorded that yesterday. But we're not done completely. We are trying to do like a big last hurrah, maybe 1 or 2 specials at the end. We're trying to get some guests on the show and stuff like that. So don't unsubscribe yet. There's more coming, but that show is coming to an end. That said, both Alan and Ignacio are making a new show. So they will be continuing to do that. It won't be on the Whatnauts, but if you want a video game podcast with most of the same hosts, they are working on something. Of course, I will let you all know what they are up to here on the show. I'm sure you will still see Ignacio from time to time. Yeah. Who knows what they're all welcome back to stop in and stuff like that. But you might see them every now and then on reactions to Star Wars stuff or to trailers here on the Captain's Log. But yeah, unfortunately, that show is coming to an end, which is sad because I like that show. I like talking about video games. Video games are cool.
I liked that it was our neighbor. I listened to one episode, and you guys put me on one episode, and that was my direct involvement with crossplay. But I liked knowing that it was out there and that you guys were having fun.
Yeah, it was a blast to make for sure. So it is sad to see that going away. But yeah, I just had too much on my plate, and I'm kind of burnt out, to be honest. And so I need to scale back to a much more like, okay, I can breathe, I can relax. This is like, now I can start to get creative again and do stuff like that. So there you go. That's all the housekeeping that we got for you. Melissa, let's talk about some of the stuff we've been watching. So a while back on the not a while back, 2 weeks ago on the review show, we watched the After Party on Apple TV Plus. And I did my free week trial, and I knew I was gonna stick with it for at least a month to be like, all right, let me finally check out some of these shows that are on there. And so I immediately jumped into Severance and Pachinko. And I am here to say both of them are phenomenal. Melissa, we need to talk about Severance for a bit here, because I know you've watched it too. I love it. This show is great. This show is fantastic.
It's so up my alley. I need more office-based psychological horror mixed with a lot of liminal spaces. Those are two of my favorite things.
I have to I'm already forgetting all of their names and stuff. Who was the co-worker, the do a flip, Spider-Man?
Zach Cherry.
Shang-Chi. Yeah. He's great in this. He is. I love him in this show. Down to ride for anything. Down to fight. Down to fuck some shit up. He is
down to fight.
Best.
Down for a waffle party.
Right. Best character in there. I loved him to death. He was great.
It's such a solid cast. I think Irving is my favorite. He's such a sweetheart. I love the Irving and Bert romance. I love the episode where they have like...
That's his name.
Yeah, Dylan. I love the episode where Irving and Bert have this like secret meeting in the spare room where they keep all the fake plants when they're not placed out in the office space. So it's like they're in this weird artificial jungle, just like tenderly touching foreheads against each other.
It's great. I like, this is almost up there with Yellow Jackets in my like, oh my God, like the mystery of what is happening in this show. I got hooked. I got so hooked.
It's
man, it's I cannot recommend this show enough. Please go watch it.
Yes,
if you have not, it is absolutely worth it.
It's so surprising. You think the show is leading you in one direction and then it swerves and it takes you somewhere else. It's aesthetically one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I love the art direction on this thing. I love that most of the episodes are directed by Ben Stiller. Yes. Way to go, Ben Stiller.
Amazing job. I saw his name on that and I was like, oh my God. Is that the same Ben Stiller that I'm thinking of? Yeah. Turns out it is. Good for him. Like, holy cow. What else has he directed? Let me see.
You should watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. He directed and starred in that a handful of years ago. I
have seen that.
Okay.
That one I was not as impressed by. I've read that short story before, or I guess we read it in class, and I know the movie is quite different from that, so I was maybe a little more disappointed in like I wanted the little short story thing that they did there. But yes, one it was still good.
Yeah, I had no idea what was in the short story. My original roommate, the one I first moved in here with, she was like, "Oh, I love that movie. Let's put it on. Let's watch it. We'll have like a girls' night." One of the first couple of weeks she moved in here. And then her boyfriend called and she was on the phone with her boyfriend in the other room the whole night. So it was just quality time, me and Ben Stiller. Just us. Me, Ben Stiller, and the Icelandic landscapes.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia page here. Directorial debut. 1992, he was approached to direct Reality Bites. I don't know. I don't know if he actually did all that stuff.
He's in it.
Interesting. Later direct. No. Anyways, who knows? Yeah, I did not know that he had the chops to direct it and direct something so good and like not what you'd expect from him.
No.
Bravo.
I thoroughly enjoyed Severance. I'm so happy you've watched Severance. We can now be on the same wavelength with each other.
The music in the show is also just haunting. It is so good. I just like, I cannot, there's so many good things to say about this show. The creepiness of the opening credits.
Some of the best opening credits out there.
Yeah, so good, but just it's that weird like uncanny valley where it is CGI, but it's like they look like the characters, all that stuff. It's just the whole thing is creepy because they do this like weird walk that is this like zombie looking walk, and at first I'm like, look, I love what they did with this, but why the zombie walk? Like I'm kind of confused, but I love it. So good.
I'm so excited. I just keep saying like the first 25% of a syllable. We are really living in a golden age of TV opening themes. Because in the last year, well, I think Yellow Jackets came out late 2021. Yellow Jackets, Severance, Peacemaker, perhaps King of Them All really stellar opening credit sequences. I'm happy we've had so many recently.
Yeah, which maybe keep your eye out the end of September here on the show because we are doing our fantasy draft. And I think we were doing best opening credits to TV shows.
Dang, I've blown my picks.
I mean, hey, you might still get some of them. You're not wrong about those. But yeah, all of that stuff is fantastic. The mystery goes all sorts of places. I was thinking that so I have a theory. I'm gonna put this out there. This did not happen in season 1, so it's not spoilers. But as I'm sitting there watching it, just trying to rack my brain about what's potentially happening. I guess to back up a bit, if you don't know the show, it is a workplace horror thriller,
Yes, it's
dark
that.
comedy at the same time, but it is about a company that now has, or about a world that now has the technology to implant this device in someone's head that splits your consciousness in a way that your work self is an entirely different and separate person from your like non-work self. So the minute you enter your office, that is your work self, and they don't know anything that you do on the outside. They don't remember it. They don't have dreams about it. Like their consciousness starts and stops when they enter that building, and it's almost like they teleport. Like to them, that's kind of what the sensation is when they leave and then come back that next day. It's not like they're sleeping for 8 hours. It feels like teleporting. Is how I can describe it. So it is these characters and their two consciousnesses trying to cope with that, and then their outside selves starting to get curious about what their inside like work selves are up to, and the work selves starting to get curious about what the outside selves are up to, as well as what the company is up to. Yeah, because the company is huge and segregated, and yes, you mentioned these like just winding hallways and like backroom style, like there's this building is huge and there's no one here, but they say this is a huge company with like the thousands of people working here, and just like what is going on? It's wild. But in the mystery of trying to figure out what is happening and all of this stuff, I was like, I wonder if there's secretly there's like a third or fourth consciousness in there that they can switch on whenever they want. Like there is this like fail safe thing that they can do there. Turns out not to be the case, at least yet.
The opportunity is there. Like these people, they walk into the building and like they work in the bottom floor, they work in the basement, and like they get in the elevator, and it's on the elevator ride down that they switch. And then they're their business personality. And the day ends, they go back up the elevator, they switch back. Like their identity is geographically locked. So yeah, we don't know if they are taken to the CEO's office, if they have a separate identity there, if they physically visit any other part of the company, if they are transferred to a different office, do they become a third person?
Right. Yeah. Like maybe one of them has to pick up like a weekend job to do this, and they happen to go, work for the same, like they, like, hey, do you have something else in another department that I can do on weekends, or like, just stuff like that. Something like that would be an interesting twist or complication to the whole thing. But yeah, it is both such an awkward show. So one person in a Discord that I'm in, when I started to gush about the show and be like, you guys need to go watch this if you haven't, I was like, I have to second the recommendation, but I almost wasn't into the show because the first episode or two is just real slow, and the whole show is slow. Like there's no, like it is a slow burn, like a creeping mystery. But I have to say I was hooked from the get-go. But they thought and I can see how some people would be like, it's slow, it's awkward, it's weird, I don't know if I'm going to be into this. But oh my God, this show goes places. And they were like, by the end, I was just like, oh my God, this show is amazing. So fantastic stuff. I'm glad I watched that. Great
One of
stuff.
my favorite genres of TV are one actor playing several characters or several actors playing the same character.
Yeah, indeed. Man, I cannot wait to explore that building more in season 2 and find out what's happening.
Yes.
And just God, the weird history of this company. It's really interesting to be. The show is very anti-capitalist and anti-corporation, but it is a show about a giant corporation produced by one of the biggest corporations in the world. It's so contradictory in all of the stuff that it's a weird combination of stuff, but I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I do like the initial conflict of that this is a process that people can choose to undergo. They can choose to get themselves severanced. And they're like, our main character chooses to do it because his wife has died. And he's like, I want 8 hours a day where I am not conscious and I don't think about my wife being dead.
Yeah.
Like you can see that there
let
are.
me just not be sad. Yeah, right?
Yeah, like they're. Like they don't remember anything that happens outside the office. So it's a way to keep whatever they're working on super, super secret. Like there's no way to like leak any information and you have no idea what they're doing. And of course you suspect it might be sinister. But I like that there's enough ambiguity of this thing is not like 100% evil. Like you can see it from certain angles like, oh, that does have some real practical application. I can see why somebody would volunteer to have that done to themselves. Sure. And that might be a real working lifestyle for them.
Sure,
I like that the premise is a question that you would think about, would I ever get that done? How would that affect my life? Like you're not immediately like thumbs down. Maybe you are, but you're like, oh, that's interesting. Let me chew on that for a little while. What would that mean?
Yeah. And it sounds like within the world, this is not the only company that does this. There are other companies out there, but this seems to be the main one or the one that developed it. And then that technology has spread. So who knows? We might even get to see like another character working at another place that like they work at McDonald's, and when they go, they are full Ronald. They've gone full McDonald.
Oh my! They work at KFC, and like their inside personality knows the 11 herbs and spices, but their outside personality doesn't and can never tell.
Exactly. Right. There is some like also like corporate security you can do with that stuff. Right. Wild stuff. But I'll give you some time to talk about some of the stuff you've been watching. However, I do want to say, go watch Pachinko.
Yeah, tell me about Pachinko. I don't know anything about it.
Sure. So, all right. So I heard about Pachinko online. I saw some people tweeting a bit about it, especially one Paul Bay. And so I was like, all right, you know, if he's interested in this show, why not? This is a show that follows a Korean family through multiple generations. It starts in the like 1920s in Korea that has been occupied by Japan. They've been invaded and colonized. And it is about this family's struggle to survive, to integrate into this new culture. Is that what they should do? They have to move to Japan. You know, but most of the show is a mix between like the 1920s ish and then the like late 1980s, early 1990s, where the grandson has now moved to America, and he's working for this big company, and he's up for promotion, and he absolutely should be the one that gets it, but they don't give it to him. And when he kind of pushes about why, you can tell it's like, oh, they're racist. Like they don't want to give this to him. But then he has this counter proposal that's like, hey, there's this like hotel chain that I can get you, or that like this land that I can get you that has been bothering, like that you can't get because there's this one woman that is being stubborn and won't leave the property. Like she owns this one bit that this company needs, and he's like, I can get you that. And if I do, not only do I want the position, I want the pay, these bonuses, all these titles, like all that stuff written down. He's like, I know that I can get you this. So he goes back to Japan to work on this, visit his family. But it's a straight up drama. It is a family drama, but it is expertly shot, expertly told. The way the past is mirroring things that's happening in the future is masterful. It is a master class in storytelling. When a certain character is dying in the more modern times, maybe a certain character is being born in the 1920s and stuff like that. Most of the show is in Korean and Japanese. It goes back and forth between those two. There is some English in there, but not much. So I think that's partly why it's maybe not getting as much of a buzz. It is that like 2-inch barrier that they what's his name, Bong, who was the director?
Bong Joon-ho?
Yes, Bong Joon-ho said in his speech, he's like, there's so much good stuff out there. If you could just get over that 2-inch barrier. This is one of those things. It's fantastic. One of the actors from Boys Over Flowers is in this, which is a popular K-drama.
Okay.
I haven't watched it. It's been one that I've wanted to pitch on the review show at some point, but I've not watched it. Yeah, it's just, man, it is wild the places it goes. It got me emotional. I cried at one of the episodes, like halfway, and I was bawling because it's like the swell of pride that these characters feel, and you feel with them, is just spectacular. And then at the end, they interview a bunch of real life people that went through all of this stuff, that lived in Korea in the 1920s, or shortly after, when Japan had colonized. Some of them stayed there. Some of them had to move to Japan. Some of them then moved to America, I think. But they interviewed that, and they're all like 90 something years old, 100 years old, and they just get to interview them to be like, what was it like, and what do you remember? And it's like actual footage of these, not of the characters in the show, but just of real people who experience that. I cannot recommend it enough. A couple weeks ago, when I was talking about shows that are underrated, I think this is kind of in that same category. It I'm sure will be critically acclaimed, but just not as many people watching it. It's not the new Game of Thrones. It's not the big action blockbuster. It's in mostly Japanese and Korean, right? They're like, go watch this. Don't skip out. Absolutely brilliant. So good. So
okay.
That is
I believe
Pachinko. And also has great opening credits too.
Oh, nice. Good to know.
Yeah.
As much as you recommend a show, if you've already watched a show, it takes me longer to watch it in my own life, because then I know I can't pitch it and make it podcast homework.
Oh, you absolutely can. that's totally fine. You'd be like, hey, you like your recommendation sold me. Let me pitch this on the show. That's totally fine.
I'll keep a list of shows you've already watched but told me you would watch again.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, go check that one out, because that one's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff indeed. Yeah, did you want to get to the stuff you've been watching? You had some YouTube series written down, right?
I did. There's an old favorite YouTube series of mine. It is called This Exists. I think the channel is just the host's name, which is Sam Sutherland. And when oh my God, I click on YouTube and there's one right there waiting for me. Thank you for saving me a couple clicks. This is a YouTube show that I found in, I think like 2016 or 2017 was when I first got into really watching a lot of YouTube, making it like my main form of entertainment, making it like not just something I would turn on sometimes, but I check this every day. I have subscriptions. I check to see what's new in my subscriptions. Like, this is my habit. Like, I follow these as much as I follow my podcasts or narrative TV shows or anything like that. Yeah. And This Exists was one of those first ones. And then it was on hiatus for a long time. The creators, that come on to do several other different video projects. Mm-hmm. But he's put out a video the other week that said, I think I can bring This Exists back. He's Canadian. He's like, I think I could get Canadian funding for this art project. He's like, fill out this in the link in the description. There's like a Google form. Fill out the Google form. If I get enough support, I'll show the Canadian government and maybe they'll help me fund this.
That's smart of him.
Yeah. But This Exists. They're these little videos. They're pretty short. Most of them are like 6-8 minutes or something. Just about weird things that exist, especially like pop culture things, like really specific musical subgenres. Or there's an episode, I think the most popular upload, this is a wild one, Black MIDI songs will kill your brain and your computer. It's a video about MIDI songs that are so dense with notes that it's not just like, the typical like musical bar with the do like the little notes on it. You've seen music. You've seen like sheet music. You know what it looks like. Yeah. There's so many notes on it. It's just like black. It's all black. That's why it's called Black MIDI. And like it plays you the song, but like all these notes are so densely compressed and layered over each other. And there are like 3-minute long, like chirpy little MIDI songs that the files are so large it will break your computer and your computer can't play them.
And just the machine just starts smoking and
mm-hmm.
That's wild. That's cool.
Yeah. Really fascinating stuff. There's a video on the internet's most unsettling wiki. That's about the SCP Foundation. Episodes about lost media. This was part of my my deep dive into lost media.
Yeah,
so
you're a big fan of that stuff, indeed.
Yeah, just look up This Exists. Lots of short videos, really, really fascinating things. You can find like at least one in here that will fascinate you.
That's cool. I like that. It's a good idea. It reminds me, so there's a video game that came out yesterday that I'm really, really interested in, and I want to check out soon, called Immortality. It's by a creator named Sam Barlow, and he's made a couple games like this where it's an FMV video game. So it's not CGI, it's not made on a computer, it's filmed. Like he actually got actors to be in it, and it's not motion capture, it's not on a green screen, it's like basically a movie.
I'm happy FMV continues to live.
Oh yeah, it's still around. But this one in particular is a mystery about a woman who not much is known about her. She was supposedly a famous actress. However, she only filmed 3 movies and none of them ever came out. And then she disappeared.
I love it.
Yeah. And so the like, not phenomenon, but like the whole thing is like the only footage that like the only proof that this woman existed were these 3 movies that never came out. So what happened to her? What happened to these movies that they never came out? Like what's going on here? And that's the mystery. And you get to watch like all of this footage and skim through it. But what's neat is you can pause it, and then with your cursor on the screen, you can go and point to like, oh, there's a planet, light that's right here. If you zoom in on that planet and like do like, I'm not sure what the button is, but like the investigate button, it will do a match cut to another time in that same movie or in a different one that has a similar theme. So like, oh, it might be like neon lights, and so it takes me to another scene with neon lights. Or it's like, oh, that's a planet, so let me like match cut that to another planet that happens to be in one of these things here. And so yeah, you just have to like start piecing things together of like what happened as you get to watch these movies, some behind the scenes stuff. It's all like uncut. So it's not like they'll say cut, but the cameras are still rolling. So you'll see the actors then like stop and drop character, and they will discuss stuff. And you're like, oh, I'm getting a weird vibe from that guy. What's happening over here? Who is it? Let me investigate this guy, right? So that reminds me of that stuff there. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And so it's speaking of Netflix, I saw something today on Twitter that game should be coming to Netflix soon.
Oh my God.
Netflix has for the past year or so been diving into video games. They've bought some studios and have released some. If you have the Netflix app on your phone, they are included in your subscription. Stuff like that. So hopefully soon that will be available to Netflix subscribers, which would be a great one to play.
That's me. Yeah, I've never tried. Well, I mean, I've never tried like Bandersnatch or any of the other sort of choose your adventure games on there. But then I remembered one time Jack and I did do a choose your own adventure for Puss in Boots.
There you go.
They have some for kids, and we found a Puss in Boots one from the world of Shrek. We took Puss in Boots on a variety of different adventures.
That's funny.
But no, I've not done a real game for adults.
Yeah, so they do have the Bandersnatch thing on Netflix. I know they have like a Minecraft story mode on there too, but Netflix has been getting into like, you can actually play real games. It's not like a choose your own adventure thing on there. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure.
Cool. Neat. I also wanted to shout out a podcast I found recently. Somebody, I think it was on like the Slash Filmcast recommended this to me. This is a documentary series from a couple of years ago. I think maybe like 2019. And it is called Headlong, Surviving Y2K. Like it's a larger series called Headlong that does little like, I don't know, 6 episode runs of like docuseries. And like this particular one is Surviving Y2K. It's all about the millennium. And it's like starting like the decade out. Like it keeps narrowing into this time frame. And it talks about like programmers who discovered the issue and like worked to solve it. Other people who are like, that's not real. Don't buy into this whole Y2K compliant things. It's a little sham. And other people are like, people are overselling it. But also there are real coders really working hard to fix real problems that could have a lot of damage if we didn't do this. And people who are viewing the millennium itself, less of a Y2K, less of a computer changeover, and more of this great like, biblical spiritual moment. Like there's this woman from a very religious family, and her husband and her kids sell everything they have and go to Jerusalem. And they're like, we're going to find the Ark of the Covenant. and they like live there illegally wearing like,
Wow.
they live as they did in the Bible. They're like, we're just going to wear robes. We're going to travel around on donkeys. We're taking new biblical names. No, we're not going home to Minnesota. All these things that people did in preparation for this. And the 2 episodes that are specifically about like New Year's Day, like New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, like there's a plot about the race between these 2 women to have the first baby born in Utah in the new millennium. Which one of them's gonna give birth first, and how there's like controversy of like, well, like they left the baby's feet in the mom and then took the feet out right after midnight. That doesn't count. Why'd they give that baby the award? But there's this one subplot
it's
about
the
this woman.
hokey-pokey technicality. They had their right foot in.
There's this one subplot about this woman who held up a bank in Kansas on New Year's Eve, and there's this big standoff that didn't end until like 2 a.m. That is, I mean, it's harrowing, it's tragic, and it's also so funny that it's this really sassy, like 22-year-old woman, and you feel so bad for her that she's in this situation, but also she's like giving attitude on the phone to the FBI. Like all she wants to do is talk to her boyfriend, Sean. She refuses to talk to anybody but Sean. She's like, FBI, you can suck my ass. If you don't get Sean up here right now, I'm going to keep holding all these bank employees. It is wild. I can't believe this one story hasn't been turned into a movie or a mini series or something. It's such a fascinating mix of all of these really strong emotions happening.
That's wild. That sounds really cool. Yeah, that would be a great like movie dramatization thing. Man, that'd be wild.
I heard it, and they've got all the recordings of all of these like hostage negotiation tapes.
Perfect.
And it reminded me of the spree we've been on with like, I don't like Pam and Tommy or something. Like this is our next dramatization of a news event of yesteryear that's looked back on with like some level of humor, but also we are trying to tell the real story of the real people that this thing happened to. It's I've never heard anything that is so funny and so sad at the same time. This is a series of emotions. It's so much to experience. If you are up for it, please check out Headlong, Surviving Y2K. It's just like a 6-episode series. I think there's like 1 bonus episode. It's fascinating.
Good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, with that, I say we wrap things up for this week. And we can end things there. Like I said, at the end of the month, end of September, be on the lookout for our fantasy draft, where I believe we will be drafting best TV opening credits. Right?
We may.
Best opening theme song was the thing. I think
we decided this in like January. It can be anything we want, Kyle. If we have a better idea, like if it's just us, or if we're able to get a guest or 2 on, I would love to have a guest on for these drafts. But we can tailor. This isn't set in stone. We can tailor it to whatever the sitch is that night.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities. This is a show I co-host with my brother James about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. And we've been recording some really fun Halloween episodes lately. So
nice.
Listen for those in the Halloween month.
Starting to get to spooky season. Love it. Cool. Well, yeah, if you guys want to follow me, I'm at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter. And of course, if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnauts, we are at The Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. We will be back next week with some more Captain's Log action. This has been number 203 of the show. We will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.